This broadcast, telecast, podcast, and whatever the hell else it is copyrighted by the Rad Network and the Rob and Steve Sports Show, all found at theradnetwork.com, and is for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of this madness without the express permission of the Rad Network and Williams Broadcasting and Rob's really mean lawyers is prohibited. So just don't do it.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
Now Norwood tries to kick his longest ever on grass, 47 yards. 8 seconds left. No good. Wide right.
Welcome to 2 hours of sports and nothing but sports.
Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cubs win the World Series. Bryant makes the play. It's over. And the Cubs have finally won it all.
Email the show, ras@theradnetwork.com.
4th and 5, the national championship on the line right here. He's going for the corner. He's got it. Vince Young scores.
And now, the Rad Network presents the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
We're going to start you with an email. Came into ras@theradnetwork.com. It is from Janelle. Thank you so much for writing. Steve, this is one of those things where it's easy to blame age, for not remembering stuff. I think I do, but I'm going to let you answer first. It was just yesterday we talked about this. It's not my age that is causing me to forget. It's how little I cared about the story. What was the team? Just yesterday, I was on a rant that threw the no-hitter.
The Astros threw the no-hitter.
Okay, I tried to think of it 10 minutes ago, and then right before we came on the air, I thought, I think it's the Astros. So it was a starter and 3 relievers, right? I think it was 4 pitchers, no-hitter.
A starter and 2 relievers. The interesting part of that is the final 2 innings by the Astros was a rookie in his debut for the Astros.
Okay. But so they went through it. So I guess 3 total pitchers, no hitters against the Rangers, right? Wasn't it
the Rangers?
Okay. And my rant was that's not a no hitter. It's 1 pitcher, complete game. That's why when the Cubs did it in September of 24, it was not a no hitter. It was was it Izagawa? Who threw with the other pitchers there. And Blake Snell's the real last no-hitter, August of 24. He actually threw a complete game no-hitter. So that was my little rant there, and that's what Janelle is writing about. She says, "Hey, Rob and Steve, my 13 and 9-year-old sons love watching your show every afternoon. My 13-year-old says it's good because you guys don't yell." Okay, I suppose that is all he's exposed to at this point. She says, talking about no-hitters that aren't. My 13-year-old brought up that he and another player are basically the 2-star pitchers for his Little League team. But we also have a limit of pitches they can throw. They do pitches. Of course they do pitches now. So if he throws over 66 pitches one game, he has to rest 4 days before he pitches again, and so on. And I looked it up really quickly. Number of pitches determines how many days they have to not pitch before they can pitch again. We had a similar thing, but it wasn't pitches when I was going through it. She says, so our manager basically throws both of the 2 stars every game, one for 3 to 4 innings and the other for the rest, with other players filling in when games are blowouts. So my 13-year-old said, according to Rob and Steve, he'll never be able to throw a real no-hitter, and he's sad. I thought that was adorable. No, it is. And thank you and thank them for listening. He'll be able to throw a no-hitter. It just depends on. So when I was in Little League in the late 80s, we didn't have pitch counts. We had no concept of what pitch counts were. It was all innings. For the Little League, I think it's all regulated by the Little League of America. So it was 7 innings in a week, which also in a calendar week, and it also constituted it was a 7-inning game. And I was in a similar situation at the age of 13, actually, just like our young listener here. It was me and lefty Tommy Costa. We were the 2 pitchers, and then you had other people. Just like she said, they'd fill in when the game was out of hand one way or another. and it does as a 13-year-old, you're a precocious teenager, and you want to win and you're competitive. It pisses you off when the manager says, "Hey, you got a great game going, Rob, but we're going to pull you and put Tom in so you can pitch Thursday or whatever." You're like, "But I'm throwing a shutout or I'm throwing a one hitter." But I got a couple. They left me in for so your time may still come, 13-year-old whose name was not mentioned by your mom, Janelle. But now, Steve, you have been. You can give the more analytical answer here. You have been. You're on one side. You're like this pitch count thing, analytics, but you have a lot of concerns about the way we're letting youngsters train their arms, throw their arms. Is Little League the spot for pitch counts?
I think Little League has to use pitch counts because they do in the major leagues, and everything we do at all the levels tend to try to emulate the top level out there. I'm with you. When we pitched back in Little League, Babe Ruth, etc., there wasn't a pitch count. It was just by innings, and depending on how many innings you threw, etc., were the factor on that. I, the part they don't take into consideration, even with Little League, is if you're playing tournament ball. I mean, you're going to practices, you're throwing there. I can tell you as a kid, I played wiffle ball every single day from the time it got warm up until football season started. So it didn't matter how many pitches I threw in a game. I'm going to throw 100 plus every day playing wiffle ball. The thing, though, that was different, I think, and I don't know about for you, but when I was growing up, it was that look, you threw fastballs and you learned some kind of a changeup. You didn't try to throw curveballs and all those other things that created that extra wear and tear on your elbow. And it was really discouraged until high school level. And then once you hit high school, that's when you started bringing in the off-speed breaking ball pitches and stuff like that. But through Little League, I don't think any kid in our league even threw a curveball or anything like that because it was discouraged for your health by the parents, the coaches, and everyone.
So I was always on the younger side. I had a September. I still have a September birthday. So I either be the younger one or the super old one. My parents opted for the younger one. So when I was 13 and in Little League, I was about to go play in high school, and my coaches were very supportive of understanding kids got to develop some pitches and stuff. So I did have I had a curveball and I had a slider too. So I had those three. I didn't have a changeup. I knew how to throw it. The you put the perfect sign, the circle and the three fingers, and I could throw it. I think I never saw the value of it because it's not like I was throwing 90 miles an hour to begin with. I was a junk baller, but so those were the pitches. But see, this never made sense to me when I was young. For exactly what you brought up. First of all, if I wasn't pitching, I was playing shortstop, the longest throw in the infield. And you're taking practice, and you're still practicing during the week, and then you're still throwing the ball if it's hit to you, which it is at shortstop. And then, like you said, when you're not at school and you're not at practice and you're not playing Little League, you're playing with your buddies. You're throwing the ball, and depending on the time of the year, you might even throw in a football game where you're the quarterback because hey, you're the pitcher, so you got to be the quarterback. You're right; they have to do it, but it's so much for show. It's so dumb, and it needs to be regulated somehow. I know that. I get it. I just that's the logic part that drives me nuts. It's not like the kids shut down their arms when they're not pitching. And I'm not sure what it is exactly. Is there any relevance to it other than we look good? We're doing right by what the majors are doing.
I think it's that trying to protect the kids, doing what the majors are doing. This has been one of my beasts for a long time because my daughters went through the tournament ball. My son started off through the tournament ball. We as parents all think our kid's going to play in the show. They're going to get a college scholarship. They're going to do these things. And I think one of the big differences was we played during the season. So we would play baseball from like March, beginning of April through July. And then we would play football like August through November. We'd play basketball November through March. It exposed you to all the different coaches, coaching styles, and gave you that break. The kids that play tournament ball now, they're playing, you know, every month of the year. And I think I said this on a prior show. I have a nephew who played tournament ball out of the Bay Area. And in 1 year, I want to say that he played in 165 games in one season. He got more at bats in 1 year playing tournament ball than I ever got throughout my entire career. You know, playing high school ball all the way up through high school ball. He's getting more at bats than major league players. And he played all the way up through his senior year in high school. But by that point, it was that kind of the burnout. You see that a lot of times because the kids want some breaks and they face that burnout. And I've really come to the conclusion if you are a star athlete and you have that athletic ability to take it to the next level, regardless of picking one sport, you're gonna get there by playing multiple sports. I think it makes you better as an athlete as a whole, doesn't burn you out on one specific sport because a lot of this tournament team stuff is really about the money. I mean, they get the money for your practices, your individual lessons, all the expenses of taking the kid on the road. I swear every single weekend it
Oh,
seems it's a money grab, and they encourage all the kids to play. There might be one kid out of the whole group who's going to go on to play college ball even, but they need the money in order to support their programs, their facilities, their coaches, and all this other team. And we as parents just divvy up that money and keep paying it because I am a parent who believes the best way to keep your kids out of trouble is to expose them to sports. They can learn all the different things, the disciplines, the different coaching styles, but it keeps them busy so it keeps them out of trouble. I believe that idle mind causes issues. So you do that, but if you have the talent of you know, and I'll just go Tom Brady, who's not the most athletic looking guy, but believe me, Tom Brady played baseball, he played football, he played these. And the part to sum this up, the part that really irritates me is your high school coaches who demand a player to look, you're only going to play this sport. If you're going to play for me, you have to dedicate all your time to playing this sport. Can you imagine somebody telling Bo Jackson that? Hey, look, you can't play these other sports because you can only play football or baseball. He was so talented. He's one of the most gifted athletes we've ever seen in our lifetime. And don't limit him. Let him expose to all the different sports.
absolutely. Now we didn't have travel league or tournament league or anything like that when I
No.
was playing. And I don't know how my parents would have reacted because one of the things was exactly that. They were never afraid that I was going to not find something to do athletically. We grew up in a time where you played outside from the minute you could until it was either dark or your father was screaming your name. And it was always baseball, football, basketball. I had a basketball hoop in the drive. I don't know, and I was bowling at the same time. I don't know how they would have handled that. And you're so right. It's not only now more than ever. It's the parents. But as kids, we all think if you're semi talented, I'm gonna be that guy. And I thought that when I was 13. It was when school started. And there was that very first orientation meeting with everybody that was going to be on my baseball team. And I'm looking around going, okay, baseball's out. I am not going to be able because you get everybody from all over, and not only is it everybody from all over your town or different schools and stuff, but you're also going to be playing other schools in the area who also look like okay, they might go. I'm not going to go. So, but I remember when I was 13, in that last year in Little League, it was like again, Tommy and we would basically rotate, and it was usually 4 innings, 3 innings, 4 innings. But middle of the season, I was just lights out one game, and it was 4 innings, and I'd given up one hit, And the manager, George Rivera, I'll never forget him because of the second game. He said, "We're going to leave you in. Your stuff is great." And my curve was nuts. It was one of those games. I threw a one-hitter, 7-inning one-hitter, best game of my life. That's it. That's my claim to fame in Little League. I will take it to my grave. Next game, so I don't pitch for a week, right? Now it's up to Tommy and the slop crew. Next game I pitch, they leave me in the whole game because I throw a 3-hit shutout. And Coach Rivera comes out and he says, and it scars me to this day, I've worked on this in therapy. He comes out to me, he says, "Great game, Rob. Not your best, but great." And like, I was so deflated. I'm like, dude, I can't throw a one-hitter. I was 13. You go through all the adolescent self-esteem crap. I'm like, but I can't throw a one-hitter all the time. I threw a 3-hitter, and I got a not your best thing. But I would have been pissed if he would have taken me out. So I get the 13-year-old saying, "Hey, let me play." And they should be playing multiple sports. That you're dead on right about, as we just wag our fingers at everyone. Okay. So we got basketball dark tonight. We obviously got basketball to talk about. Hockey. Can't wait to get your pulse on hockey, Steve. And obviously baseball. But I'm going to throw you a little curveball here, ironically, as we were just talking about pitching, and we're not going to talk about pitching now with a curveball because I promise I only looked at the top 3. This is one of those fun, Rob and Steve, 2 guys sitting in a sports bar conversations. We've alluded to it a little bit over the years. We've never sat down and I think done the homework. And we're not going to now. Just you throw it out there. Like the USA Today, they got all their NFL experts together. And they came up with the 30 greatest American football players ever. At first, I thought it was a soccer story. Thank God it's not. Now, I think, Steve, like without getting into it, right? Without us really digging into it, I think when we've talked before, you and I agree we're players, not quarterbacks, right? Players. The 3 that are in the competition, I think, we are in no particular order: Brady, Jim Brown, and Jerry Rice. It's just a matter of fighting over who. Am I leaving anybody out, or do I have anybody wrong in the 3 players?
I would actually, man, I'd probably kick Tom Brady out and put in Lawrence Taylor.
Okay.
Lawrence Taylor was unstoppable throughout his career. He changed that position entirely.
Agreed. So you wouldn't have a quarterback in your top 3 players.
I off the top of my head, I would probably go with Rice. Yeah, probably LT and Jim Brown.
Okay. And I wouldn't be like telling you you're crazy if we're sitting around just having that conversation. I'd probably push back a little on, don't we have to have a quarterback in there, Brady? But and if you look at the USA Today, they put Brady number 1. Look, I'm sorry. He's unquestionably the greatest quarterback of all time, in my opinion. And I'm a guy who had to let go of the Joe Montana thing. Yeah, I was clinging to that. But Montana never lost a Super Bowl. Well, when you get to 7 wins, was it 7-2 or something like that, or 3 for Brady? You got to let it go. Best player? Look, I can make an argument for him being in the top 3, not being number. For me, it's between Rice and Jim Brown at number 1, and then probably Brady's going to squeak in at 3rd for me. But they had LT 5th, so I'm okay. And they had Montana 4th. There's your top 5. Brady, Rice, Jim Brown, Montana, and Lawrence Taylor were their top 5.
And see the what I use for the top is you transition the game. You change the game. I think Jim Brown changed the game at that running back position. And I would argue he's still the greatest of all time. And granted, I'm biased towards Barry Sanders, who I think was just incredible, but he changed it. Lawrence Taylor changed that position, changed into that edge rusher, which was never to that extent of what we had before. And Jerry Rice, it took Joe Montana, et cetera, to throw it to him. Could be the argument, but I think Jerry Rice changed that wide receiver position. And that's why I go there. Tom Brady didn't change the quarterback position. He didn't. It just, the rules have changed. And yes, he won a lot, but he didn't change how we play quarterback in any way. So that's why I probably have him at fourth. Uh, and I would say I would have him at fourth, but he didn't change it. It's why the Gretzky is the great one. He changed hockey. Babe Ruth, I'm sorry. Shohei can do whatever he wants. I still think that Babe Ruth is the great, and it's tough because I'm a Ted Williams fan, but
Yeah.
Babe Ruth changed the game. And if he was allowed to pitch, he was as, I would say as dominant as Shohei, but he out homered teams. This isn't a great look. I can homer. He out homered entire teams. He changed the game. And that's what I think those three have done at their positions and the game itself. And that's why I put them at top three.
By the way, Tom Brady changed the quarterback position, but not of his own doing. He changed it because of all the changes to rules that were put into effect to protect him and every other quarterback, but it wasn't his doing. And by the way, no surprise that Ted Williams has always been my number two. He's always been in my mind. I've never like officially said it has to be, but he's always the guy I go to. Ruth is at the top, and then Ted Williams. Did Joe Montana change the game?
No, I don't think Joe Montana changed the game either. He was just great and wonderful in clutch situations. You know that, look, I got a quarterback to win one game. And if you give that to me right now today, I'm taking Joe Montana over Tom Brady. And I know Tom Brady may have more Super Bowl wins, but Joe Montana never seemed to lose. I mean, he did it with Notre Dame. He did it with the Niners. He stepped in and every clutch game. And you said it as a 49ers fan, even like in the Super Bowl against the Bengals. Yeah, no, I had no doubt he was going to lead them down, just like, the catch against the Cowboys. Said, nah, never had a doubt he was going to lead it. So Joe Montana, to me, is the best clutch player in the NFL.
The US, I said all I did was check the top three initially. So now we know it's Brady, Rice, Brown, Montana, Lawrence Taylor for players, and then when I turn the page, sixth best player in NFL history, they have Patrick Mahomes, followed by Reggie White and Walter Payton. That gets us through eight.
Patrick Mahomes would not be in. Patrick Mahomes may not be in my top 20. Rolling it all out.
Yeah.
Walter Payton, Walter Payton was great. I mean, the sweetness, he was unbelievable. I do not believe he was a better running back than Barry Sanders. I think Barry Sanders was a better running back. He just cut his career short. If he'd have continued playing, I mean, he was one season away from becoming the all-time leading rusher in the NFL. And there's so many great players, but just going into Dick Butkus was unbelievable. They used to not allow him to practice with the team when he played college football at Illinois because he would hurt his teammates on offense. The guy played at such a reckless abandon and was so dominating. Teams feared this guy. And so Reggie White was great, but I don't know if I'd put Reggie White ahead of Dick Butkus.
Dick Butkus is 24th on the USA Today list for best player of all time, sandwiched between two quarterbacks. This is a quarterback-centric list. So it's 23rd best player of all time. They put Dan Marino. 24th is Butkus, and they put Elway 25th. Elway's behind Marino? Come on. What is this? This is the argument that he was a better thrower thing?
Dan Marino was an unbelievable pure quarterback. He really was. He just didn't win. Thank you, 49ers. Didn't win a Super Bowl.
Ninth, they have, again, quarterback centric. They have Johnny Unitas 9th and Peyton Manning 10th, and then Barry Sanders 11th and Deacon Jones 12th. Whoa, okay, here's one. Just to throw one more in there. 30th all-time best player, Aaron Rodgers. His 102.2 career passer rating is the best in NFL history, they argue. Only Peyton Manning has more MVPs. Perhaps no quarterback ever, they say, can match his combination of arm strength, accuracy, and anticipation, and none was more effective while he won one Super Bowl. I mean, unless the Steelers win this year. I know I've got a bias against Rodgers. That seems extraordinarily high, though, to me. I wouldn't even
I'd like to see it, and believe me, I'm not asking for homework because I hated homework in school, and I hate homework to this day. Just like what your all-time top 10 or 20 quarterbacks would be, because I'm curious to see where I would put Aaron Rodgers, because I'm not sure he would. Man, he'd be close to 10. I'm not sure he'd be in the top 10.
He would be, and I don't know where this numbers, but he would be in the neighborhood of Matthew Stafford, and I'm not sure that Stafford doesn't get the edge in my mind. Because yeah, you have to when you get to that, you do have to get down and look at it and go, well, what am I forgetting? And then there's all the intangibles and things that you have to look at. Certainly, Rodgers isn't top 5 quarterback, top 10. I mean, you do have to. For me, you do have to consider the Super Bowl thing with quarterbacks more than any other position in football. Now, does that make Aaron Rodgers a better quarterback all time than Dan Marino because Rodgers actually won one? So did Favre. Are they better than Dan Marino? Are they better than Dan Fouts all time? That's where it gets dicey.
Is Terry Bradshaw better than Dan Marino? Is Terry Bradshaw better than Brett Favre?
You and your Terry Bradshaw thing. Did you name him actually like the most overrated quarterback of all time?
And I love Terry Bradshaw after he played. And yes, he needs to retire and move on and enjoy the rest of his life. But I learned to really, really like him after his playing days. But you look at that Steeler team. I mean, they have like 9 Hall of Famers on defense and 8 Hall of Famers on offense. You know, how much of it was Terry Bradshaw versus just Chuck Nolan, how great a team they really built with that Steeler team.
Well, I mean, if you go by this USA Today list that they just dropped on us out of nowhere today, Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback all time than Terry Bradshaw because Aaron Rodgers was the 30th best player, and Bradshaw isn't mentioned at all. He's nowhere in the top 30. So
4 Super Bowls, you had to have done something right to be 4-0 in the Super Bowl.
Yes, and then but Aaron Rodgers gets on the list ahead of you for winning 1. It bothers me. I would, okay, if we're doing our all-time quarterback list, back to your top 10 homework, Bradshaw's going to be ahead of Rodgers on that list just because he has 4 of them. Aikman's ahead of Aikman's way ahead of him. I mean, right?
And I think you also have to take into the era and what it is. You know, like where does Slinging Sammy Baugh go?
Oh, God.
You know, where are you going to throw him in there? Because he helped transition the game and made a quarterback much more of a passing game in the NFL.
I saw somebody else old school. Oh, Otto Graham made the USA Today list as the 16th greatest player of all time. And there's Sammy. Sammy Baugh's 19th. He made the list. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You guys are on the same page there. All right, just some fun from the USA Today. It's always fun to talk the NFL. We'll take a break. We got more after this.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP. MAP, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com. Longtime advertiser Sue Berry, that's Berry with an A, is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital, as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Berry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBerry.com. Most people think berry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Berry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say,
Stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Berry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBerry.com. That's Berry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Berry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBerry.com. The number's right there. Berry is B-A-R-R-Y. Sue Berry with an A.com. That's Sue Berry, B-A-R-R-Y.com. SueBerry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Berry, NMLS number 366040, Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 5091, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Steve has been running sports books for decades, and Rob spent decades running radio so far into the ground he just created his own network. This is the Rob and Steve Sports Show on the Rad Network.
We know half of the Stanley Cup finals, which we'll talk about. No basketball tonight. We'll go over that and other things in the NBA. We're done with the postseason awards as well. We do have more NFL news and some college news, some of which makes you kind of squint and go, huh? But with baseball, the A's first baseman Nick Kurtz had his 48-game on-base streak stopped when he went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts last night as the A's lost to the Mariners. As Steve reported yesterday, Gage Jump was not only called up, but he was put in to pitch last night. Allowed 9 hits and 4 runs in 5 innings in his major league debut. He was the A's number 2 prospect. He struck out 5. Emerson Hancock allowed only 1 hit in 6 innings for the Mariners. Jump, he had a great first inning, and then in the second inning, he got a little squirrely. And he's a rookie. Okay, he's the number 2 prospect. He threw 5 innings. He gave up 9 hits. He seemed to have good stuff. I don't know if nerves got to him in the second or what, but it certainly wasn't, as a fan watching, as an A's fan, it wasn't demoralizing. I thought, okay, this guy's got the stuff. Let's give him some time, sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, a little bit of trouble he got into, a few too many hits, but let's go see what he has, what his makeup is. I was a little surprised they allowed him to go 88 pitches. I think he's been averaging about 60 in the minor leagues. So I figured he was going to be on a 60 pitch count going into this game, but he got a good 5 innings in. And showed it. And Hancock was just, he was unhittable in a sense. I think he took the no-hitter into the 5th inning is when they finally gave up the hit. He looked great. He was spotting his pitches and kept the A's hitters off balance. At no time after that 2nd inning was I ever, the A's are going to come back here. He was too good, and they had a great game.
He was taking nothing away from Hancock. The other thing, though, we were just talking about, I think yesterday, is that the A's, they have this lineup that can be so explosive, and it just hasn't in unison broken out. And that game last night, there were a couple opportunities where it's like, come on, and I don't remember who it was, but the A's had middle of the game ish. I want to say sixth inning, maybe the seventh, first and third, one out. As the batter, you have like a couple jobs. A, don't hit into a inning double play. B, don't be afraid to walk. They might not be afraid to walk you and load the bases. Be selective. And C, don't strike out, you idiot. And also, just hit the ball to the outfield. Get a run it. You got a guy on third. With one, and whoever it was, and I apologize for forgetting who the A's batter was. He popped up, infield pop up. A's scored nothing. So it was a lot of little examples like that just grind you. Now, I wasn't watching for the start of the game. So I didn't hear if there was a why, because we were speculating yesterday that Gage Jump was pushed up to start because it was supposed to be Severino's start. As of last night, everybody was reporting Severino would be starting today. Game starts in 20 minutes, and now they're saying no, it's going to be, is it Spring? Yeah, they're saying Jeffrey Springs. So I don't know if something's going on with Severino. I haven't heard.
I haven't heard either, and I've read through, the different sources that I use, and I've heard nothing on it at all.
And as you said yesterday, what was it? Was it this funny thing of the A's were just trying to push Severino so he doesn't have to pitch at home because he's bitched openly? Well, no, because they stay at home and they play the Yankees all weekend. Uh, so I don't know. I haven't heard. My apologies. So instead, the A's are playing in 20 minutes, as I said, and they're going to throw Jeffrey Springs at, I think Logan Gilbert is still the starter for the Mariners. The A's take just a half game lead over the Mariners into this, Steve. So it's either going to be a game and a half or the A's aren't in first place in about 4 hours.
Yeah, I need to figure something out. You don't want the Mariners to come into Sacramento and sweep that 3-game series. Gilbert does throw the ball really well as of late. Although his record, he's 0-1, but his whip is 0.65 in his last 3 outings. Jeffrey Springs has been struggling as of late. Uh, he's 0-3 in his last starts. I think it was his last start. He had a hard time keeping the ball in the park. And Seattle, though, light hitting team. They're only hitting 228 team batting average on the season. So if the A's can get to Gilbert, they have a shot here. And I keep giving Rob that benefit of the doubt. Let's see what Springs can do. But 0-3 in your last 3 outings, Rob, you're not going to get a lot of support if he keeps pitching like that.
Understood. And this is premature, but I'm reminded of when last week, I think it was, you were talking about how at the beginning of the NBA season, everybody was saying the Knicks, the Knicks, the Knicks, and then we went through this process and oh, no chance, no chance, and it's like oh wow, it turned out to be what we all thought back in September. And again, this is way premature, but everybody had the Mariners in the AL West when we started, and they have been terrible, and then they've been slowly creeping up and slowly, and so you as an A's fan, you get paranoid and you start to wonder, is this where it turns? The Mariners take over and they never look back. I mean, it's only a half game, but still, you're like, ah.
And that's what everybody, that's why I still think the Mariners are the best team in that division. It's just their pitching. Their pitching is so much better than every other team in that division. The team that I'm starting to wonder a little bit about is Houston. Houston's been able to hit. They got Pena back at shortstop. Jordan Alvarez is having such a great season. Spencer Arrighetti has somewhat held that staff together, but if their pitching starts coming around, Hunter Brown comes back. I'm not sure that the Astros were buried enough. They're only 3.5 out, that once they start getting healthy and get some pitching back, that this team might again creep up and start contending for this division.
We were just talking yesterday about how bunched up, which is a nice way of saying lame, the American League West is. There's no team over 500 right now. because the A's losing last night are a game under 500. The Mariners are 2 games under 500. And there's the Astros, 8 games under 500. And as you said, only 3.5 back with a 429 winning percentage. I mean, it's wide, other than the Angels, it's wide open. And the Angels are only 6 game back, but they're the Angels. One other note on Gage. I think, I have no reason to know this is what happened. This is the good and the bad of Mark Kotsay as the manager of the A's. He's a player's manager. The players love him, and he loves his players. And I think it mattered a lot to Kotsay that Gage Jump got through the 5th inning, and that's why he pushed him out there because the A's aren't run like a lot of the other teams where it's only analytics all the time. The manager gets no say. My understanding is it's more like 60-40 Kotsay gets to make these calls, maybe even higher than that. I don't see any other reason why, because I was watching the game and I'm like, I had the same reaction. He was like, oh, they're letting him come back out for the 5th. All right. Well, I wonder if they'll let him go past 90 pitches. Didn't get there. That's speculation on my part. So we'll see. A's and Mariners start in about 25 minutes. Meanwhile, the Diamondbacks beat the Giants 7-5 last night. That's their 9th win, the Diamondbacks, in 10 games. They did lose Nolan Arenado to right groin tightness, their third baseman in the 7th inning. I haven't heard an update on that. They finish up tonight with Soroka going against McDonald as the death watch on these Giants continues. They are 11 games under 500, 4th worst run differential. The Giants are 13 back of the Dodgers. We were talking about this yesterday. When you look at the West, I think I asked you, could the National League West produce 3 playoff teams? Dodgers up by 3.5 over the Padres, 4.5 over the Diamondbacks, which is who the Giants are playing today.
Yeah, Diamondbacks are playing great. 9-1 in their last 10, have won 4 straight. As you said, Arenado's out, but this team can hit. The big surprise for me has been Vargas, this first baseman for them. Another 2 RBIs with a hit. He's hitting 303. The Giants, there's just not a lot to look at here. McDonald's going, he's 2-1 on the season, but he's 1-1 in his last 3 starts with a 6.6 ERA, 1.34 whip. Soroka has been really good in his last 3 outings, 2-0, 0.89 whip, an ERA of 1.5. The bright spots for the Giants, Casey Schmidt, again, another homer last night. He's up to 12 on the season. I think he's had like 6 in the last 10 games, something unbelievable. But they just don't hit. I mean, they struggle offensively. They're not getting great pitching. And the Giants, they're down with the Red Sox. Is just write them off. Let's move towards next year. And I'm curious what they're going to do come trade deadline. Are they going to hold pat, or are they going to start, does Chapman get moved on? Willie Adames, I don't even think anybody's going to take him even off their hands for free. No, too big of a contract. And he's not great defensively, and he's not hitting now either. I mean, his on-base percentage is 278. That his batting average should be higher than that, but he's just not getting on base. And there's just so much wrong with this Giants team that you shake your head. And I'm so disappointed in what they've done.
By the way, you were mentioning the Mariners and their lackluster offense. They're like last in the majors in almost everything. They were rattling it off last night, and it was like 5 of the 6 major offensive categories as a team. Last. So that's the Mariners. The Giants are. I don't know. I have some friends that are really big Giants fans. I need to check in with them and see what's going on. I'm with you, and I'm sorry that we're becoming a broken record. It's staggering to watch how disappointing this team is, and we're not even in June yet.
And to expand on that a little bit here, you look at the Giants, and as bad as they have been offensively, they have still scored more runs than the Red Sox this year. The Red Sox have scored the fewest runs of any team in all of baseball. The Giants now have even more. Remember a while back we talked about it, and the Giants and the Red Sox were tied for the fewest home runs. Giants are now sitting at 49 home runs. The Red Sox are still at 41. And I think the last time we were talking, they were both at 36, and that feels like 2 weeks ago. So that means the Red Sox have only hit 5 homers, and they got 2 yesterday in the last 2 weeks.
By the way, to be fair, the Giants are only 2 runs ahead of the Red Sox in runs for. So that's a close one as well. As we try to.
And to put it in perspective, the Red Sox are at 200. The Washington Nationals lead Major League Baseball with 304 runs scored. They are more than 50% more runs scored than the Red Sox.
So while the Giants aren't in last place, the Red Sox are. And if we're going to keep going down the last place road, another broken record. What in the world has happened to the Cubs? The Pirates just blew them away, 12-1. And Chicago has now lost 10 in a row. Hey, little tidbit from the Pirates. Connor Griffin, 20-year-old rookie shortstop, became the youngest leadoff hitter for the Pirates since 1952. That'll get you a patch in LeBron James land. He went 1 for 4 with a walk and 2-run score. The Pirates aren't the story. I mean, by the way, unlike the AL West, where no one is at 500, everyone in the National League Central is over 500, but the Cubs have slipped all the way to a tie for last place with the Pirates. They're both only 4.5 back, but the Pirates, remember the Cubs had 2 10-game winning streaks, and now they have a 10-game losing streak, and they look lost. I saw part of this game yesterday, and sometimes you get that feeling, right, from a team. You can see it. I don't know if they're shell-shocked, they don't know what they're doing, but they didn't look right last night at all.
Not at all. They gave up 5 in the first inning. I mean, they couldn't get anyone out. And you're right. There's something wrong here. 10 days ago, we were talking about them as one of the best teams in the National League. Today, we're talking about how they're tied for last place in their division. But little things like Pete Crow Armstrong, one of the better defensive center fielders in the game. In the last 2 games, I've seen him just botch routine plays that he normally makes. I want to say he airmailed one to play at third base, and he threw into the netting like above the dugout. It wasn't even close. He had a ball that was, one of those, hey, look, it's a base hit, just pick it up. No, he misplayed that. So they're misfiring at every level. This is a very good defensive team that is a good defensive team, but can hit as well. They're not even playing good defense. It's astonishing how bad this team has gotten so quickly. I still think they will be all right. Today's game, they are a bit of an underdog here, but they're going up against Bubba Chandler for the Pirates. He's a good young arm. He can bring it, but he has no control. The guy leads like starting pitchers in walks, per innings. But they have Jameson Taillon on the mound. This guy's 0-3 in his last 3 starts, 7.8 ERA, 1.6 whip. So to go with the bad defense and just not anything, their pitching has been atrocious through this 10 games as they gave up 5, in that game yesterday, and the game was over. I don't know how they're going to fix it. They will turn it around, but it is ugly right now.
Well, and it's unlike, say, the Giants and how disappointing they've been from the jump, this roller coaster that the Cubs have put everyone on, where they have become such a bad team as compared to being such a great team, all in the same 2-month period. It's nuts. But you reminded me of a question I've been wanting to ask you for at least a week, if not more. Back to the fundamentals thing and watching more baseball than I have in years. What is with these players on the bases sliding past the bag and getting tagged out as a result of not holding on to second base? That's the most common example that I see, whether it's a stolen base, forced play, whatever. It's usually a stolen base attempt, but they're most of them head first slides, and they slide through the bag, and the fielders have caught on, and they try to wait for that moment where no body part is touching the bag, and I'm seeing it endlessly. What happened to the controlled slide?
I don't know. It's like maybe the analytics say, look, when you slide, you slow down. So they're going longer in their run. So they're sliding later than what we were taught. Uh, Rob, do you ever recall oversliding any base other than home plate? I mean, you
No.
can overslide home plate because as long as you touch it, it doesn't matter how far you go. I have never, and granted, I haven't played hundreds of thousands of games like these guys have, but I've never overslid a base. And you see it all the time now. And I know it's becoming an art form because you see the base runners who really know what they're doing when they look. I know I'm there. I see the glove. I'll pull my lead hand back to go
Mhm.
up, and I'll turn on my side to go around it, and then try to get around the glove and touch the bag. So it's become an art form. But I have to think it goes to that analytics because it slows you down. Just like why does everybody slide into first base? You can run through the bag faster. So that same thought process, which is causing them to go through the bag and past.
Yeah, I guess it had to be analytics. And you're right. Okay, it's an art form, but it's an unnecessary art form. It seems to me. But and so you gave one example. The other example I've noticed of the really prolific base runners is they'll and again most of this is head first slides. So they'll hit the bag, let's say with their left arm, and they'll have the wherewithal to keep their body touching the bag. And somebody was talking about it last week about they'll intentionally press down their left thigh to keep the pressure, and then the art for them especially is their left foot has to hook the bag and stay on the corner of the bag. Okay, that's hard to do. That's not. I mean, the way I describe it, you're like, it's no big deal. We'll go do it 100 times. You'll probably miss more than half of the times. It's just, you're probably right. There's probably some type of mathematical equation that says you have a better chance of being safe by sliding later than you do of getting out by getting off the bag. It's just these things that I see more and more. Why are we doing this again? And that's one that's been haunting me. Um,
The thing I'd add to that is I would think that we're no longer learning how to slide on slip and slides like we used to in the past because you can't go and put extra pressure on your thigh and think you're going to slow yourself down and hook anything with your left
oh,
foot.
that's true. Oh, the slip and slide. That's another one on that list of things that were great as a child, and you hear about it as an adult. You go, I want to do that until you think about it. You go, no, I'm gonna break something, to pull something, hernia. I don't know. For the first time in their storied history, the Yankees got at least 2 hits from every player in their starting lineup. That has never been done in the history of the New York Yankees. They had 6 home runs, put up 24 hits in a 15-1 romp over the Kansas City Royals, the complete opposite of the previous day's game, which was super exciting. Went late. Bobby Witt Jr. He won the game. Oh no, he didn't. And then the Yankees said, "Here, how about we just blow you out, 15-1." Yankees stay 2.5 behind the Rays. The Royals have lost 2 in a row, 7 of their last 10. They are 9 games back of the Hawardians, and they play again in Kansas City today. Here we go with Garrett Cole. It's on Prime at 4:40 Pacific time, going up against Noah Cameron.
Yeah, this will be the second start for Garrett Cole. He had a really nice first start, did not give up any runs. He got in a little trouble early in the game. He was able to pitch his way out of it. Cameron is a lefty for Kansas City. He's having a pretty decent year in that he's 2-3, but he just isn't. He's a good young arm, but he's not consistent. His last 3 outings, he's 0-1, but his whip is 1.12. He has been pitching better as of late. But this Yankees team, and a couple of things jumped out. I mean, Schlittler just continued to dominate in
Jeez.
last night's game. I mean, 4 hits, 1 run, no walks. His ERA is down to 1.5. This guy has been, but how do the Yankees, Ryan Yarbrough, got to save? I know the save rules are if you can go 3 innings in a game, but you won by 14 runs. And by the time he came in, I mean, the game was like 10-1. How does this guy get a save? And on the Royals side, Falter, who's just been brutal in his brief pitching. I think he was released today or sent down to the minors, but I really think he was released. So he pitched his way out of that rotation in Kansas City with this atrocious start yesterday.
Now, with the Yankees, I think we've been of the mindset they're the Yankees. They'll be fine, and they've got all these reinforcements on the way, depth, etc. Now they're 2.5 back behind the Rays, and you've been high on the Rays this year. It's not June yet. In your gut, are you still saying the Yankees are going to win? They both seem like they're playoff teams, but are you saying are you thinking Yankees are still going to win this division? They're going to win the East.
I still think the Yankees are going to win the East due to, I have to believe the bottom of that lineup is going to start producing a lot more than what they have done. They've really struggled there. And Tampa Bay, I enjoy watching them play, but they're not a lot of big sluggers. They move runners. They play solid fundamental baseball. And that rotation, I mean, you look at McClanahan there, you look at Drew Rasmussen, Nick Martinez has been really good. So they have three guys that can match up with anyone. So they shouldn't go into deep slumps and long losing streaks. I don't think they're as good as the Yankees. They were the one team going into the season. I said I did not see winning the AL East. They could finish second. And boy, was I wrong there because they're clearly the second best team in that division.
Is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Barry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBarry.com. Most people think Barry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Barry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say,
Stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Barry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBarry.com. That's Barry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Barry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBarry.com. The number's right there. Barry is B-A-R-R-Y. Sue Barry with an A.com. That's Sue Barry, B-A-R-R-Y.com. SueBarry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Barry, NMLS number 366040, Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 5091, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP. M-A-P, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com.
You know those guys you see in a sports bar laughing and enjoying each other and just talking sports? That's this. Back to the Rob and Steve Show. Email them, ras@theradnetwork.com.
Hour 2 of the Rob and Steve Show. We go back to baseball. We were talking about Craig Kimbrell. I saw the story yesterday. It's funny how it developed. I honestly didn't even know he was still in the major leagues. He's got 440 career saves. That's second among active players. He's fifth all-time. And 4 days ago, the New York Mets designated him for assignment. And yesterday, the news came down that the Tampa Bay Rays, who we were talking about in the previous segment, are 2.5 games ahead of the Yankees, had signed him. And then, hey, how about this? He made his debut last night. He pitched the 8th inning of the Rays' 6-1 loss to the Baltimore Orioles. I assume this just falls under your heading of depth. You love the D word. You love depth, and Kimbrell's an arm, basically.
He's an arm. He has major league experience in that closer role for so many years. I shake my head. Like, why is Craig Kimbrell still in the major leagues, and why is Kenley Jansen still in the major leagues? Both pitchers, really haven't been that effective consistently for the last several years.
So the Rays have lost 3 in a row, with that loss to the Orioles, who have won their last 2. And you had paddled off 3 solid Tampa Bay Rays pitchers when we were talking about them. None of them are throwing today. Somebody named Steven Matz is going up against Trey Gibson in Baltimore.
Hey, don't knock Matz. This guy's been a journeyman. He's been with the Red Sox, the Mets. He's been around the league. He's 4-1 on the year, a whip of 1.11. His last 3 outings, he's 1-0 with a whip of 0.94. His ERA in his last 3 is 2.12. Going up against Gibson, he is one of the top pitching prospects for the Orioles. He's been up, I want to say he's thrown about 4 games in the bigs. He has not had that much success, but they're high on him. He's a promising young pitcher for them. And Tampa, I'm starting to get a little bit worried on them. They've lost the first 2 to Baltimore. They don't want to get swept here. And they've lost 3 straight. So they need to right the ship, and this wouldn't be a bad spot for it.
I'm not the one that sold Matt short. You didn't mention him when you were talking about all their great pitchers. So I said, well, I guess Matz isn't one of them.
He's a very back-end starting pitcher, right? And he's had a good year. He really has, but he's a 5. If you got to use him up higher in your rotation than a 5, you're in trouble. But he can pound out the innings. So he's an innings eater there who gives you a decent chance of winning from the 5 slot.
Had our share of blowouts yesterday. The Dodgers had a good news, bad news day, depending on how you want to look at it. Mookie Betts, remember him? He homered twice. Dodgers just destroyed the hapless Rockies 15-6. And yet, on the same day, we were just talking yesterday about Kiki Hernandez, who was out for 53 games to start the season, and how he's this guy everybody loves in the clubhouse. He's a utility player, but everybody was excited to have him back. And only 2 days into his season debut, he'd homered in his first at bat on Tuesday night, last night. He doubled in his second at bat, and then he left the game in the fourth inning. And that was after he went 4 for 4 with 2 doubles and a homer in his first 2 games. Fans gave him standing ovation. Okay, well, in baseball this year, if you're hurt, it's one of 2 things. You either have the foreign bodies or whatever in your elbow. Well, that's for pitchers, or you have what Kiki Hernandez has, damn obliques, which he said he actually tweaked his oblique during batting practice on Monday and was too embarrassed to say anything because it didn't happen in the game. And now it looks like he's headed for the injured reserve list again. Come on.
He should miss the rest of the season and end the year with 1,000 batting average. I hit 1,000 in 2026. It's kind of like one of the things I'd always said, if I ever enter a league in the first game of the new league season in bowling, I shot a 300, I would quit right there. Sorry to my teammates, but you know what? I averaged 300 this year. It doesn't get any better than that.
So the Dodgers will wrap it up with the viewership's going to be through the roof in Japan. The hapless Rockies, who have lost 8 of their last 10, are sitting in last place, obviously at 16 games below 500. Dodgers in first by 3.5 over the Padres. They've won 4 in a row in 8 of their last 10. And the Colorado Rockies will throw Sugano against Ohtani today.
Yeah, I think this is our first $4 pitcher in baseball this year, as the Dodgers are a $4 favorite with Ohtani on the mound, who's just having an unbelievable season. I mean, he's in that Cy Young talk as one of the best pitchers in the National League. A lot of competition there when you look at Skeens and Sale and Mizorowski and that, but his season's been unbelievable. The Rockies are the worst team in baseball. If you're ever going to bet them, you got to look at them at home. You really don't have a shot betting them on the road. Although at plus 320, 330, you might want to take a shot there. I just don't think I'd put my money there. But Sugano, he's 4-3 on the season. I mean, he hasn't been bad. His ERA is 3.91, but his WHIP over the last 3 starts has been 1.44. So he's almost putting a runner and a half on every inning. And Ohtani just continues. He's 4-2, ERA of 0.73. His WHIP is actually higher than his ERA at 0.84. You usually never see anything like that. Ohtani 2-1 in his last 3 outings and has just been dominant on the mound. And the Dodgers playing good baseball again. I mean, it was a week ago we were talking about what's going on with them. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and they've won 4 straight. The Dodgers are fine.
One more baseball story from last night. There's always that balance between celebrating, showboating, showing the other team up, being obnoxious. You got bat flips and how long can you stare at the ball as a batter. Pitchers, off and on, we've had, Eckersley famously had his fist pump that was a little more exaggerated than others. And where is the line where and apparently his own manager thinks that Abner Uribe crossed it. Yesterday, Brewers manager Pat Murphy said the antics by Uribe were unacceptable. Uribe got Alec Burleson on a called 3rd strike, 2 outs, runners on 1st and 2nd. This is in the 8th inning. That was the only inning Uribe pitched. He then turned to the Cardinals dugout and he did the WWE style crotch chops where you make a V out of your 2 hands, and he did 3 of them right at the Cardinals dugout. They did challenge the call. It was confirmed. It was in the bottom of the strike zone. Murphy went on to say, quote, "I don't know what got over him. He's an emotional guy, but that kind of thing is not how we do things. I was embarrassed. Why are we doing it? It's a 6-0 game. What are we doing here?" He went on to say he loves the kid. He's talked to him, etc. I didn't see it live. I watched it and went, that's too much. And not only is it, for me, too much, like Murphy said, okay, you got a strikeout to end a 6-0 inning in the 8th. It's not like bases were loaded, you're up 3-2. I thought it was obnoxious, and I'm no snowflake, but it was too much for me.
I'm with you. I didn't understand it. I mean, 9th inning, playoff game, 1-1 game, 1st and 3rd. Maybe I probably still wouldn't go there. But as you said, this was a 6-0 game. It was nothing at all. This is one of those, and he's a relief pitcher. Now, if he was a starting pitcher, this is one of the reasons where I did like pitchers hitting, even though I'm a big fan of the DH, because this would be the retaliation. Look, man, next time we face you, you go in the batter's box, you know where that pitch is coming. And I hate to say this, but I think they don't play today. But the next time the Cardinals play the Brewers, I'm drilling Contreras, the catcher for the Brewers, to send that point that you better straighten this pitcher out. And Contreras is one of the best players on the Brewers, but he's that catcher, which is why I'm drilling him just to make that statement. You better show this kid a lot of energy, though. Good young arm, a lot of energy. It's just really misplaced, and it was uncalled for.
I don't know if they've hit anybody. They are playing today. They're actually in the bottom of the sixth.
Oh,
and the Cardinals are up 1-0, and the Cardinals have a no-hitter as they go into the bottom of the sixth. May is pitching for the Cardinals.
And you listen to me, he loses his, he has a no-hitter, so it would have been the second inning. He loses his perfect game because he's drilling Contreras in order to send that statement.
He may. I just pulled it up. He may have a perfect game because he's got no walk. So unless somebody got on with an error, the Cardinals have an error. So maybe that's it.
The hit by pitch, that's me. I'd have hit the guy.
Let's switch over to hockey. The Vegas Golden Knights did the unthinkable to so many, including Mr. Vegas himself. Steve had the hope, but it was tough. Well, they decided to beat the Colorado Avalanche 2-1, completing the sweep, and they will return to the Stanley Cup final for the third time in their 9-year franchise history. Vegas coach John Tortorella, I'm learning to love this guy, I really am, said right after the game, quote, "Now the real stuff starts. I consider the first 3 rounds the playoffs. Now we're playing for the Stanley Cup," end quote. They'll take on the Hurricanes or Montreal in the final round. We're going to start like we always do with the losers. Hold your enthusiasm, Steve. How do the Avalanche, they won the President's Cup. How do they avoid a similar fate from happening next year? They were the front runners. I mean, everybody had them. They were all in. The conference finals begin. They start to struggle to score. They have less than $3 million in cap space this summer. It's like, how do you improve on being the best team who then goes out with a ton of injuries in the playoffs? Do they just need to be well?
Yes. I mean, they had an unbelievable season. As I said, this was one of the best teams I've seen in quite a while. They were the best offensive team in the league. They were the best defensive team in the league. They won the President's Trophy, which is a curse. You don't want to win that because that knocks you out and you don't get to be the Stanley Cup winner. But I don't know if they have a whole lot to do. The only thing I would tell them is don't win as many games next year. Don't win the President's Cup, and then maybe you got a shot at winning the Stanley Cup. They are a really talented team. Their goaltenders this year were really good. I'm not a big fan of Blackwood and Wedgwood. I think they can upgrade there, but Colorado's gotten it done for many years without top goaltending. I mean, bring back Patrick Waz, but they can't do that. But that was like the last really good goaltender they've had.
So what about the Vegas Golden Knights? It is an improbable sweep. I mean, the injuries, sure, okay, we can wave that flag all we want, but they are going back to the Stanley Cup, third time, 9 years. They got to go through either Montreal or Carolina to win it. I heard a lot of people last night already saying it's the Knights to lose. Where are you at?
Stunned. I am still stunned. And the thing is Stoney scored early in that game, and all the air went out of the Avalanche. You're like, look, they have to win this game. They're going to be motivated. They were so down after game 3. Stoney scored like in the first 5 minutes, and that was it. I mean, the Knights outplayed them, beat them in every aspect. This Knights team and Carter Hart, I cannot say enough about him. He's played every game in net for the Knights, and he has been outstanding throughout this entire playoffs thing. the Knights look really good. I mean, they seriously do. And watching the game, and I don't know if you watch it and saw this part, but only the NHL. They showed because Tortorella now hits the coaches that were fired with 10 or less games remaining in the season where their team made the playoff, and they showed it, and I'm like, only the NHL. I got 3 guys on the screen that have been fired with less than, 10 games or fewer because you don't do that and made the playoffs, which means they were pretty good. The first 2 guys both won the Stanley Cup in that year that they took over the team with 10 or fewer games left. Let's make Tortorella the third one. I like their chances against the Canadians. I think it's going to be a really tough battle against Carolina, though.
By the way, Tortorella, is he going to get a long-term deal, stay the Knights coach after what he did to come in?
He's going to get a long-term deal, and he's going to be fired in like 2 years. He'll be gone, and they'll be paying him too. I wonder if Cassidy will be out of his contract by that time so he can actually sign with another team, or if the Knights are just going to know, Cassidy, you can't sign yet. Tortorella, you can't sign yet. And they're going to be paying 3 coaches and keep them all on the sideline.
So tonight, we'll get an inch closer to who the Knights will play. They're in Montreal. It's at 5 o'clock. The game's on TNT. Carolina leads the series 2-1.
Yeah, and right now, Carolina's almost a $1.50 favorite in this game. They are the better team, but hats off to Montreal. Carolina's up 2-1, but both wins came in overtime. This Canadians team is like that little pesky gnat that just won't leave you alone. They keep coming at you, even though the Hurricanes are the better team. I give them credit, but Carolina's going to end up winning this series. That they are just too strong. But hats off to Montreal and Dobas in goal. He's played outstanding as well. And just where they've gone. The last game, what were they outshot? Like 38-13, and the Canadians still pushed it to overtime. That's how pesky a team this team has really been.
And then we go back to, and we're doing this in basketball and hockey in the postseason. The Knights and their long layoff while they watch these two beat each other up. We saw Carolina come back after 11 days off and look like in their first game. I guess the X factor is you assume Tortorella's been around enough. He won't let the Knights do that, but that's always the question. Will the Knights be flat? Will whoever they're playing be exhausted because they've got about a week until they play? And so matter who wins, is there a way to know the advantage, or do we have to see how this plays out with Montreal and Carolina?
I think Vegas is enough of a veteran team to not allow that, rest to be. Plus, Tortorella is such a hard-nosed coach and that disciplinarian. I kind of feel sorry for the Knights players and practices for the next 7 or 8 days because he might make them just run ragged and just look. I don't want you getting soft. We can't take any time off. We got to be prepared to play. And he might just beat them up in practices.
Over to the NBA, Boston Celtics coach Joe Mazzulla was named NBA Coach of the Year last night. That wraps up the league's postseason awards. Remember, like all the sports, these are done regular season. Has nothing to do with what happens in the postseason. Celtics had 56 wins. Mazzulla beat out JB Bickerstaff of Detroit by about 80 total points, and then everybody's way down after that. I remember when we did our before the postseason started NBA awards. You and I both had SGA winning the MVP, things like that. But I remember you were going back and forth between the Celtics and Bickerstaff. Did you land on Bickerstaff or did you land on Mazzulla? You hit said Mazzulla.
Missoula is just, after the Pistons last year with that big series that they lost to the Knicks and showed that they were there. I think people going into it really felt Detroit could compete. Boston going in with their off season and losing the players and Tatum being out for what was supposed to be the whole season, nobody gave Boston even a shot. Talk about writing a really good team off. I mean, I want to say their odds went up to something like 100-1 during that off season for them to win the NBA championship. Granted, that ticket's in the trash if you put $5 on it, but it just shows how far people wrote the Celtics off, and to have that kind of season was incredible.
So we know that the Knicks, as I mentioned, they're sitting at home, waiting to see who they play in the NBA championship. We're still grinding on what are the Cavaliers going to do. Well, we found out yesterday that despite getting swept in the finals against the Knicks, the Cavaliers plan on returning head coach Kenny Atkinson and all of his timeouts and his coaching staff and the front office for next season. We heard it yesterday. It was confirmed this morning. So much for the idea that Atkinson's a great assistant coach. They're running it back.
Yes, and James Harden has a $42 million player option. So he will, I have to believe, exercise that one. So it's not like the Cavs can even get out of that. I just, what a colossal collapse by a team in the playoffs. And they all quit. They quit on their coach, they quit in the series. That's the most disappointing part. And then Atkinson with his, well, analytically speaking, I'm sorry, throw the analytics out. You got your butts whooped.
I don't know what, and I don't even want to joke about it was is there something wrong with Atkinson, because then I'll find out in a month that there is. But I mean, it was an embarrassing few last days with his attempts at explain, and it seems to have trickled down to the aforementioned James Harden, who still thinks the Cavaliers were the better team, despite being swept 4-0 by the Knicks. After they exited on Monday night, Harden was asked point blank if the Knicks were better than the Cavs. And he could have just brushed it off. He could have said, "Hey, man, I don't know. We're moving on to next year." But no, not Harden. He said, "Quote, yeah, it was 4-0, but I don't think we had a chance as far as our best shot. They dominated us 4-0, but I don't know if I can necessarily answer the question just because genuinely I do feel like we are the better team. Series wise, it didn't show it." End quote. What does that mean? You didn't have your best shot. What? What?
Yeah, you turned the ball over too much. You didn't shoot well enough from the court. They missed too many open shots. They couldn't knock down a three when it mattered. I can give you on and on. They couldn't out rebound the Knicks. They got outplayed by the Knicks outside of that second and third quarter of game one in every facet throughout. Maybe that's why James Harden has so many games that he has more turnovers than field goals made, and hasn't won a championship.
That one made no sense. One of as they fill time on all the sports media things, one of the big debates now today is who should the Knicks want to play? Should the Knicks want to play OKC, or should they want to play the Spurs? What's your gut?
I think the Knicks really need to want to play the Spurs with that youth. And can they have enough to contain Wemby and exploit the other parts of it? I don't. I think the Thunder's defense is too good for the Knicks. Um, Jalen Brunson doesn't play enough defense to even slow down SGA or the guard play of this Thunder team. I don't think it's really a series if they play the Thunder.
Speaking of SGA and slowing down, not him, but Wemby, SGA scored 32 points. Caruso had another strong bench effort with 22, as the Thunder are a win away from playing the Knicks in what Steve says will not be a series. The Spurs lost 127 to 114 last night, and to the holding them at bay, we talked yesterday. And the the OKC kind of sort of did what you said. Hartenstein held Victor Wembanyama to 27% from the field as the primary defender. Game 6 is tomorrow, and the Spurs are publicly saying, of all things, they need more from Victor Wembanyama. Okay, he didn't have a great game. I get it. But man, they're loading this kid up. Spurs coach Mitch Johnson said, "We're going to need Wemby to stave off elimination. He's got to take more than 15 shots. Even with the 12 free throws, he's going to have to score more than 20 points for sure." Stephon Castle said, "I think Wemby, just wants to make the right play and wants to win. He's our best player. We need him to be aggressive. I feel like him being aggressive opens up shots for other guys." I'm sure they mean it respectfully, but boy, does that come across like, "Hey, it's all on you, pal. You better figure this out by tomorrow night."
It is, and in the one game, I mean, part of my complaint was there's nobody who wants to step up besides Wemby to win the game, and it wasn't in this series, but the prior series when Wemby like went out for when he got hurt, he went out and it was like De'Aaron Fox, who was always the key playmaker with the Kings and wasn't afraid to take a shot. They all were afraid to take the shot. What happened in last night's game? The Thunder flat out said, "Look, we're going to send all kinds of bodies at Wemby." That's why he was 4 for 15. And are you saying now he needs to take that shot when 2, 3 guys are coming at him? My thought would be, look, get him some shots, but when they collapse like that, if you got 3 guys coming at you, that means there's 2 guys wide open. Give the ball off, let them hit the open shot, and make it a good game. But they're piling on Wemby. I know he's the savior of the franchise, but give the kid a break.
There is that balance of hey, you're the superstar. It is all on your shoulders, and give the kid a break. And it feels like they're not doing the second one. Wemby also, and I don't know all the background of it. He didn't do his media opportunity last night. He's been warned by the NBA today. Hey, you got to do that. I don't know what led to that. I haven't heard. Was he pissed? Was he exhausted? I didn't hear an explanation, but something else was there as well that the Spurs said he's not coming out, and he didn't, and the NBA said, "You bad boy."
And let him. He's young. He's the face of the league. Maybe it's a good thing that they kept him in the locker room and didn't have, look, pay the fine, whatever it is. Just don't get, fined a second round pick like the Knights did in the NHL. But, that's why I love the NHL again.
And the NBA is going to argue what you said against you. They're going to say, yeah, he's the face of the league. He has to be in front of the media. Whatever. All right, so we did baseball, we did hockey, we did basketball. I want to throw in some college football because there's a lot going on under the radar that people aren't paying attention to, and they might suddenly go, when did this change? Well, it's changing now if it does change. A couple things. One, they're working on what are the playoffs going to look like ultimately. And at the Big Ten spring meetings last week, Commissioner Tony Petitti gave his first extensive public comments in support of a 24-game college football playoff model, making it clear the league has no interest in pursuing a 16-team format, which has been widely speculated as where college football is headed. If the SEC doesn't pivot from its 16-team preference and support the Big Ten's proposed model, Petitti said the Big Ten will take a hard-no stance on 16 for 2027 and beyond. So we're at the stare-off phase here. For the current 12-team model to change, both Big Ten and SEC have to agree on the format. Now, when this story broke last week, I didn't hear anyone support the idea of going to 24. Most people are still like, God, 12 is too many. Can we go back to 8? But okay, 12. Oh, you're going to 16. Are we headed for 24 inevitably, and we should just do it? Or is this just I don't know where this ends.
Well, as a fan, the bowl games are meaningless now in every sense. If the player on any team is any good and is NFL draftable, they're going to sit out because they don't want to get injured in the bowl because the bowl game is meaningless. Where many years ago, that was the bowl game is what they helped use to elevate their game. I think of Jamarcus Russell, who had a great bowl game and launched himself into a number 1 draft pick. So I'm for going to 32. I get the 24. It's the same thing. It gives 8 teams a bye through the first round for those top 8 teams. But let's go to 32. Let's eliminate every bowl out there. It gives them 33 bowl games, which is close to what we have now. It's a little bit short because I think we have like 40 or 42 bowl games, but just go to the 32, put them in there. But the leagues are still going to fight over that. The SEC is going to say, well, if we're at 32, then we need to have a minimum of 7 of our SEC schools need to be in this. The Big Ten's going to say, oh, yeah, well, then we need at least 8 of our teams to be in this. And that's the stuff that they're also arguing about is how many guarantees do they get from their conferences? But for me, the bowl games are useless. There's no point in any of them anymore. Just make the bowl games part of the playoffs. The players will play, the fans will watch a lot more. And you look at the bowl games now, they used to all be sold out. Now you go and they can't give tickets away because even if they're giving tickets away, there's only like 5,000 fans in the majority, not the major bowls, but the majority of these bowl games. So even free tickets, they can't get people to go to.
Yeah, you couldn't pay me to go to the Pop-Tart Bowl or whatever the hell that thing
Right.
is. Now, we were talking yesterday, unfortunately, an ongoing story of what, over 10 years, keep politics out of sports. The Jackson Dart story, right, out of New York. He introduced Trump, blah, blah, blah. And it goes back, Kaepernick and all these other things. Well, okay, that's politics. I also like to keep politicians out of sports. So I'm always weary and leery when I hear about government getting involved. A pair of U.S. senators are introducing a new wide sweeping legislation today that aims to address some issues in college sports. Why this is the most important thing for senators in the state our country's in, I don't know. Don't ask. That's for another show. It's called the Protect College Sports Act. They always come up with great names. It's been written after months of negotiations between Republicans and Democrats and would provide the NCAA, here we go, with an antitrust exemption and allow them to enforce several rules that have been challenged in court in recent years. Those rules would include limiting athletes to transfer schools only one time without penalty, limiting athlete eligibility to a maximum of 5 years, prohibiting former professional athletes from playing in college, and prohibiting schools from poaching a coach from another school during their sports season. Now, it may be politicians involved, Steve, but I'm not sure those aren't 4 really good ideas.
Those are 4 things outside the coaches. 3 of those 4 have always been in place. They've gone away. You could never have a player that became a professional athlete to then come back and play. They used to have the transfer that, you have the penalty. You got to sit out a year if you transfer. And it was 5 years. You were entitled to 1 red shirt season. And that was it. So you played 4 years plus a red shirt season. So all of those make common sense. I think the carrot they're dangling, though, is that antitrust. Look, we will give you the antitrust exemption so that you're not facing all these lawsuits. You're not constantly in the court system. My question is do we really want to give the NCAA all of this power back? Because I've had a lot of problems with the NCAA prior, and look at how college athletics have changed once they've taken away that dictatorship of the NCAA. So I don't know if I want to go back to giving the NCAA all that power again. But the 4 things that they mentioned, those are common sense. The NCAA should have been doing those in the first place. And so taking it out of the courts might not be a bad situation.
And that's what the NCAA would argue, is we were trying to do them, and then they went to the courts, so we need this protection. The one that's raising some eyeballs, what do you think of? The bill would also give the NCAA and College Sports Commission legal cover with the antitrust thing to enforce a cap, a player spending cap for how much each school can pay its athletes.
I really think there needs to be something there. With the NIL deals and all of that, it's become the Wild West in so many ways. And in college sports, you see it. It's no longer about, for the players either, it's no longer about, look, I'm going to go to Alabama because that's my best shot. If I can be a starter and help Alabama win a title, it's going to help my draft stock. Into, am I guaranteed to start and how much money are you giving me? This is where college athletics have gone. in the football arena and the basketball arena. What's my playing time and how much are you paying me? And that's not what college sports are about. I know it shouldn't be like it used to be that the players get nothing, but I've always argued they're given a free education and that ability to earn a degree, which gives them the ability, hopefully, to make a nice living, to land a nice job if by chance sports do not work out at that professional level. And you have to hope that it teaches them enough on money management, handling all the agents and all that other stuff to help them have a much better chance at success versus just coming out of college or the one and done in college. So it's kind of a back and forth. I'd like to take a little bit of both, mold it into something, and make it work. But it shouldn't be our politicians. There's so much going on in this world and with our country, our government. They should not be wasting a single second, let alone months, trying to negotiate on a deal that really has nothing to do with anything and making your and my lives better.
Couple of quick updates. The A's are going to the bottom of the second in Sacramento. They are down 3-0 to the Mariners. And in Milwaukee, the Cardinals are still up 1-0. They're going to the bottom of the eighth, and the Cardinals still have a no-hitter against the Brewers.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP. MAP, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com. Longtime advertiser Sue Berry, that's Berry with an A, is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital, as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Berry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBerry.com. Most people think berry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Berry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say,
Stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Berry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBerry.com. That's Berry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Berry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBerry.com. The number's right there. Barry is Barry. SueBerry with an A.com. That's SueBerry, Barry.com. SueBerry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Berry, NMLS number 366040, Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 5091, Equal Housing Opportunity.
This is the Rob and Steve Sports Show. Call the show at 888-587-5355 or email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com.
Well, that didn't last long. So Dustin May took his no-hitter into the bottom of the eighth in Milwaukee. He had no hits through 7, and first batter up. He lines one into left field. I don't know who's playing left for the Cardinals, but dude should have caught that ball. It was a were you able to watch this? It was a liner into left, and the left fielder his glove was. I got to see the replay. It looked like he could have made more of an effort, but I don't know. That was in real time. I didn't see the replay. Either way, no hitters gone. May just was taken out of the game with the Brewers having runners on first and third.
Oh, first and third. I had seen second. Mitchell got the base hit to break it up. First and third, and it's a 1-0 game. I mean, This is going to be interesting. Should have taken him out at 80 pitches. Forget that history and allowing him to have a shot at immortality. Should have just stayed with that combined and put the bullpen in.
Yep, that's by the way, it's first and third with no outs as May has exited. Okay, back to. I could choose whatever I want to start more NFL news. I chose this one for personal reasons. Last night were the annual Sports Emmy Awards. Greg Olsen, the number 2 NFL analyst at Fox, won the award for Outstanding Personality and Event Analyst. The other nominees included a guy named Tom Brady, the one who took Greg Olsen's job as lead analyst for the NFL. He was at least nominated this year, Brady was. He wasn't in his first year, Greg Olsen was. Olsen continues to be stuck behind Brady, waiting for another network or Fox to wisen up, which doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Good for Greg Olsen. I think he's one of the 3 best. I think he's up there with Aikman for sure. He certainly is better than Brady. And Olsen might be the best. He's so good, and he's not like drowning in obscurity by being the number 2 guy. He's just so much vastly better than Tom Brady, which I know isn't saying much, but he doesn't have the name and he doesn't have the ring. So, and you know what? Look, I like Tom Brady. I don't have anything against him, but you know how much he hates to lose, and you know this bugs him. You know this does.
I think that's probably why they had to nominate him at least, because if he didn't even get nominated and he was a number 1 guy for the Fox team, I can't win an award if you're not nominated.
No, I think we've both just kind of accepted they're not going to enforce any conflict of interest thing on Brady. It is not cool that he's the number 1 analyst and part owner of the Raiders. Nobody seems to care. Well, a lot of us seem to care, but nobody seems willing to do anything because he's Tom Brady. So get Greg Olsen. You know what? Well, I don't really want him to. I was going to say put him with Al Michaels on Thursday Night Football just because Herb Street's so milquetoast. But then he's only on Thursday night. Well, obviously the answer is get rid of Collinsworth. They won't do that unless Collinsworth is old enough to say I'm going to retire, and then you can put. Boy, what a Sunday night team that would be! Tirico and Olsen. That would be great.
Why would Collinsworth ever walk away? He's already proven he's not going to get fired because he knows where the bodies are buried or something. He has the dirt on somebody there. So why not continue to collect that paycheck as long as you can? He can't get worse. I mean, I like to believe he can't get worse.
So, okay, I don't know if we did this last year or the year before, but so who would you rather listen to? You have to choose one, do color commentary, Collinsworth or Brady.
See, the hard part for that for me is I listen to so many games on no volume anymore. I just watch because I also watch a lot of different games. But if you gave me the choice of Brady or Collinsworth right now after this last year, I would rather listen to Brady. After Brady's first year, I still would have preferred Collinsworth, but I do agree with you that Brady has gotten better. He's getting closer to tolerable. I still find myself muting his games, but Chris Collinsworth, I can't. He says something stupid within the first like 2 minutes of every game that I've had enough, and I just hit mute.
Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs' star quarterback, returned to the field with his teammates yesterday for the first time since his injury last year. He was in the team's opening OTA practice, although we don't know the extent of it because the session was closed to reporters. The Chiefs posted another one of those videos of Mahomes making a throw on the field, still has the brace on the left knee. Their first practice that'll be open to reporters is tomorrow. I don't know if we'll learn anything more, but they continue to hype the narrative that Mahomes wants to and expects to play in week 1, and the Chiefs are optimistic.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything else. I'm just not sure they're telling us the truth with him going out there and, hey, he's throwing a ball. Okay. I want to know what the trainer guy is with the ice bath. Is how much time is he spending in the ice bath for rehab? Because if he had to go take a 30-minute ice bath or however, whatever it is, after throwing that one pass for the cameras, then he's a lot farther away.
So would they be, they're trying to make the league and their opponents in those first few weeks think it's going to be Mahomes? Is that, I mean, look, everybody in the NFL, you've always talked about how Belichick, everybody's questionable on Sunday morning. And I always try to look for what's the angle of why they would be lying to the league or withholding information. Is that what it is? They want everybody to believe we're all set, we're solid, because doesn't that work against them if he doesn't start in week 1?
It does, but it makes the Broncos prepare for Mahomes. Everybody believes he's going to be there. It helps sell season tickets, if anything else. Because if they were to come out and say, look, he's not playing a week 9, maybe they're not selling as many tickets for their games. There's a lot of reason to do that. Just mislead them. And the NFL has never done anything to really stop it. Right now, in that week 1, KC's sitting at a 2.5 to a 3-point favorite in that game. If he doesn't go and it becomes Justin Fields, then this game's going to drop to, pick 'em or Denver a slight favorite.
Speaking of quarterbacks, we got more details on the Rams and Matthew Stafford's deal. The bottom line is Stafford gets a $5 million raise next season. The Rams get control of his rights in 2027 through a currently non-guaranteed compensation package. So Stafford is due to make $45 million in 2027. None of it is currently guaranteed. March of 27, the payment becomes fully guaranteed. So the Rams have them for 26, 27. And then after that season, everybody's got a month and a week or so to decide, is he coming back? And then his 45 million clicks in. And if he doesn't come back, the Rams control where he would or wouldn't, could he leave? And if they don't want him, would they let him leave? That kind of thing. Stafford accepted the $5 million raise in base pay in lieu of embracing the possibility of becoming a free agent in 27. And the Rams secured their ability to decide after this season to keep Stafford or not. I mean, okay.
You got $5 million for free. Stafford's not going to go play quarterback for another team in the NFL. He is either going to be a Ram or he's going to retire. That's really the only question that's out there, is if he's going to play or not for the Rams. This whole, and it works for the Rams because look, they know he's not going anywhere else, but it gives him that time at the end of the season with no guaranteed money. So if he walks away, but they have to know by March 1st. Unlike the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, that we can drag this out into May, June, July, August. The Rams have put in place, look, we'll give you this $5 million just so we have an answer before March 1st.
What about, so we've talked about the idea of, hey, the John Elway Cinderella story, Rams go all the way. Stafford does or doesn't win a consecutive MVP, but he wins another Super Bowl and he says, that's it, I'm out of here. What about the opposite? What about Stafford doesn't have a very good season? What if he looks mediocre? What if he looks old? What if he looks like he's slowing down, but he's still Matthew Stafford enough, a Matthew Stafford-ish? Then the Rams are really in that situation of, because I don't know about the Ty Simpson thing, if that's even real. This draft coming up, we're not sure about Stafford. Stafford's like, hey, I can play. Whatever. I had a bad season, down season. Then does because Stafford doesn't want to go out like that.
I think Stafford's willing to go out like that. I don't see him playing past when his skills start deteriorating. We've already seen it every year. He reevaluates. He's still playing at a high level. I mean, he just won an MVP award. But I don't see him as a quarterback who's going to allow himself to deteriorate to where he's no longer an elite quarterback. Some people might argue he's never been an elite quarterback, but I believe he is.
He is.
And I don't see him holding on to try to just prolong his career. I think he's satisfied with what he has. He every year in the offseason determines if he has the desire, the fire to compete. And that's what the difference is. If he starts to deteriorate, I think he's gone.
We're in that time of the season as we gear up towards the mandatories and everything. A lot of NFL teams are securing their extension deals, looking at the few free agents that are left, rewarding players they want to lock up. The Houston Texans yesterday gave wideout Nico Collins a nice raise, the two-time Pro Bowl wideout, so he's twice as good as Shadur Sanders. He's been to the Pro Bowl twice. Agreed yesterday to adjust his contract by guaranteeing his salary the next 2 seasons with the raise. They're giving him a $9 million increase in 26, an $8 million increase in 27. He was due, Collins was, to make $20 million this year and be the 18th highest paid wide receiver. He'll go up to $29 million and be the 5th highest amongst wide receivers, which sounds about right to me. He's a hell of a player.
He really is. And they're doing right by him. If you have that money sitting there under the cap, use it. Keep those few star players happy. You don't want them disgruntled going into the season. And it's crazy where that wide receiver market has gone to where we're up in that close to $30 million a year for a wide receiver.
Hey, we're paying kickers $7 million a year.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I never thought that would be the day.
The Chargers and Derwin James agreed to a 3-year, $75 million contract extension, making him the highest paid safety for the second time in his career. The deal includes $57.5 million guaranteed. He earned his 4th All-Pro honor last season, entering the final year of his 4-year extension that made him the highest paid safety in 22. His new deal resets the market at $25.5 million, passing the record that Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton signed last year.
And Harbaugh knows, look, we win by defense, running the ball, but defense, wear the opponents down, and he's a big part of that defense. So I understand that move.
Last year, Josh Jacobs for the Green Bay Packers produced 929 yards, 13 touchdowns. He's contracted through the following season, and he was arrested yesterday on 5 charges, including felony strangulation from an incident Saturday morning. And he, through his lawyers, has denied everything. The NFL says they're aware, they're in contact with the club. This morning, during his first meeting with the press, Matt LaFleur opened it by saying that they will let the process play out, which is how it should always be. That's the whole point of innocent until proven guilty. Let the process play out and make your decision from there. We don't know anything about what the real story here is. The football side of it, the Packers losing Jacobs, if that happens, could be a big deal.
It really is, because they don't have a strong running back room behind him. My understanding is also they have I think it's $6 million buyout is what the cap hit they would take if they released him. And you talked about the strangulation. I believe it was also and suffocation. And I don't know if those two go hand in hand as a charge or if it's strangulation and it added the suffocation as a separate one. So I don't know if that's really one that they were both or if it's 2 different things, but that's in it as well.
I know that the felony charge is just called felony strangulation, but it may include suffocation. There's 4 misdemeanor counts of assault, criminal damage to property, disorderly conduct, and intimidation of a victim, all of which he denies vehemently. we're what did we 5 days? Well, Monday's June 1st, which means on Tuesday AJ Brown will be a Patriot. At least that's what everybody thinks. As of June 2nd, the Eagles can trade Brown and spread the dead money charge over 2 years. Most believe it's a matter of time before that happens and that Brown will go to the Patriots. The Vikings are talking about should they add Deebo Samuel, because they got Justin Jefferson, but Jordan Addison's got a lot of questions for his off-field behavior. Juwan Jennings, do you add Deebo under the idea of depth? And should the Commanders sign Brandon Ayuk, who played in college with Jaden Daniels? You like any or all of those?
No.
The Ayuk thing's the worst. Get rid of that.
Honestly, I hate to say this, but I'd like to see Ayuk have already played his last down in the NFL, not for the 49ers, but in the NFL. As off the track as he has gone, wouldn't hurt my feelings if he didn't play again.
And plus having not played now, you wonder what you're getting. And Deebo Samuel, once one of the most feared receivers when he was with the Niners, and I can't believe he's just still sitting out there. Lost a step kind of thing.
Yeah, his production has really fallen down since that time, and I feel bad for him because the Niners made him that utility knife. He was the Swiss Army knife to do everything. I mean, running back, wide receiver, jet sweeps. I mean, this guy was such an important part. And I hate to say it, but I think it took an effect on his career. I think it banged him up a little bit earlier than we expected. And I think he's lost that step, and he's not that great player that he once was.
Have a great Wednesday. We're back tomorrow.
This has been a presentation of the Rob and Steve Sports Show, brought to you by the Rad Network and is copyrighted by the radnetwork.com and Williams Broadcasting for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of whatever Rob and Steve just talked about without the express permission of the Rad Network, Williams Broadcasting, and Rob's really mean